Chapter 17 Towards the Path of Freedom. Get set. Write the names of the national days associated with the given dates. Also write the names of the great personalities associated with them. 12th January, 30th January, 23rd March. After the First World War, the movements against the British intensified because the Indian soldiers who returned from the war were full of new ideas of freedom. They learnt if the masses unite, they can overthrow the British rule from India. At that time, the British passed the Government India Act 1919. The act tried to disunite the Indians. It dissatisfied the Congress and Indians. To worsen the situation further, the government passed another act called the Rowlatt Act. Rowlatt Act. In 1917, a committee was set up under the presidentship of Sir Sidney Rowlatt to look into the militant nationalist activities. On the basis of its report, the Rowlatt Act was passed in March 1919 by the Central Legislative Council. As per this act, any person could be arrested on the basis of suspicion. No appeal or petition could be filed against such arrest. This act was called the Black Act, and it was widely opposed. Gandhiji's call for protest against the Rowlatt Act got an expected response of furious unrest and protest. The situation, especially in Punjab, became bad very quickly. Mahatma Gandhi was arrested near Delhi. Two prominent leaders of Punjab, Dr. Satya Pal and Dr. Saifuddin Kichli, were arrested in Amritsar. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. In Punjab, there was an unprecedented support to the Rowlatt Act. Facing a violent situation, the government of Punjab handed over the administration to the military authorities under General Dyer. He banned all public meetings and detained the political leaders. On April 13, 1919, thousands of people gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh garden near the Golden Temple in Amritsar. The date was for the Baisakhi festival, which was also the Sikh New Year. For more than 200 years, this festival had drawn thousands from all over India, including women and children. A peaceful public meeting was organized at the garden. The Jallianwala Bagh was surrounded on all sides by houses and buildings and had few narrow entrances, most of which were kept locked. Fearing of a rebellion again, General Dyer marched in and, without any warning, opened fire on the crowd. The firing continued for about 10 to 15 minutes and it stopped only after the munition exhausted. According to official report, 379 civilian people were killed and 1,137 wounded in the incident. The whole nation was shocked at the brutality shown by the British. There was a nationwide protest against this massacre, and Rabindranath Tagore re-announced his knighthood as a protest. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre gave a tremendous impetus to the freedom struggle. The third and final phase of the nationalist movement, 1917 to 1947, is known as the Gandhian phase. During this period, Mahatma Gandhi became the undisputed leader of the national movement. His principles of non-violence and satyagraha were employed against the British government. Gandhiji returned from South Africa in 1915. With the advice of his political guru, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he toured entire India. Mahatma Gandhi began his experiments with satyagraha against the oppressive European indigo planters at Champaran in Bihar in 1917. In the next year, he launched another satyagraha at Kheda in Gujarat in support of the peasants who were not able to pay the land tax due to failure of crops. During this struggle, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel emerged as one of the trusted followers of Gandhiji. In 1918, Gandhiji undertook a fast unto death for the cause of Ahmedabad mill workers, and finally the mill owners conceded the just demands of the workers. With these three movements, Champaran, Kheda and Ahmedabad mill strike, Gandhiji emerged as powerful political leader. The non-cooperation movement. The non-cooperation movement was pitched in under leadership of Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian National Congress from September 1920 to February 1922, marking a new awakening in the Indian independence movement. After a series of events, including the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Gandhiji realized that there was no prospect of getting any fair treatment at the hands of British, so he planned to withdraw the nation's cooperation from the British government, thus launching the non-cooperation movement and thereby marring the administrative setup of the country. This movement was a great success as it got massive encouragement to millions of Indians. Thousands of people gave up their jobs. Subhash Chandra Bose also resigned from the Indian civil service to join the movement. Other prominent leaders who took part in the movement were Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, Lana Abdul Kalam Azad, Rajendra Prasad, Motilal Nehru, and Jawaharlal Nehru. This movement almost shook the British authorities. The non-cooperation movement was a constructive program in which leaders paid attention to the promotion of Hindu-Muslim unity, abolition of untouchability, spreading of education, popularization of indigenous goods and khadi. People took part in the movement in a large number. The last stage of the movement was the civil disobedience movement. It was decided not to pay any taxes to the government. It was started on 1st February 1922 at Bardoli. It also became a popular movement. Chauri Chaura incident. In the meantime, an incident took place at Chauri Chaura in Uttar Pradesh. When a demonstration was being carried out, the police fired at people without any provocation. This incident provoked the people badly. They set the police station on fire where 22 policemen were burnt alive. Gandhiji was firm in his belief in non-violence and was shocked at this violence. So he immediately called off the movement, whereas many leaders wanted to continue it. Revolutionary movement. After this, the freedom movement slowed down. Only some peasants and workers' movements continued. So some people felt strongly that force should be used against the British. Thus the revolutionaries came forward. The Hindustan Republican Association was formed in 1924 by Ram Prasad Bismil, Jugesh Chatterjee, and Sachin Sanyal. They wanted to overthrow the British by armed rebellion. The first major revolutionary activity was the Kakori conspiracy case that occurred in 1925 at Kakori in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. In it, the revolutionaries stopped and looted a train carrying government cash. The four of the revolutionaries, Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaquullah Khan, Roshan Singh, and Rajendra Lahiri, were sentenced to death. Others were sentenced to long terms of imprisonment. The next major revolutionary activity was the murder of Saunders, a British police officer. The Hindustan Socialist Republic Army was formed in 1928. The important leaders of this organization were Bhagat Singh and Chandrasekhar Azad. These revolutionaries did not believe in violence. Rather, they believed in self-sacrifice. They wanted a platform to raise their voice. On 8 April 1929, Bhagat Singh and B.K. Dutt threw 2 bombs in the well of the Central Legislative Council, but do not harm anybody. They quoted arrest, shouting the slogan, "Inqalab Zindabad." During their trial, they used the quote to spread their messages. Newspapers also carried their messages. The masses learned how to make the supreme sacrifice. After a long trial, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev were sentenced to death and executed on 23 March 1931. Of the others, 7 were sentenced to life imprisonment, while Chandrasekhar Azad shot himself when he was surrounded by the police. Many other revolutionary activities too took place in Bengal, Maharashtra, Punjab, and Uttar Pradesh. The government dealt with them with a heavy hand. Revolutionaries were imprisoned in various jails, including the Cellular Jail in Andaman. Think a while. What is the other name of Cellular Jail of Andaman? Simon Mission. The British government was now alarmed that the freedom movement was growing stronger every day. So, in 1927, it appointed a commission under the chairmanship of Sir John Simon to handle law and other situation in India. All members of the commission were British. It had no Indian member. So, the Indians decided to boycott it. When the commission arrived in India in 1928, the people greeted it with black flags and slogan of "Simon, go back." The demonstrators were dealt with the lathi charges and firings by the British. Many people and leaders received grave injuries. Demand for complete independence. In 1930, Gandhiji demanded complete independence from the British rule. Mass meetings were held all over the country. The people took a pledge to attain Purna Swaraj. So under the leadership of Gandhiji, civil disobedience movement was started once again. Chirpi says, the salt law did not permit the Indians to make and collect salt from the sea. Dandi March. Gandhiji organized the Salt Satyagraha March, popularly known as the Dandi March. In this movement, Indians were allowed to produce salt without paying the tax. He started the march from the Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad up to the sea coast at Dandi near Surat and broke the law by collecting a handful of salt. The people prepared salt and quoted a rest peacefully. Other leaders such as Sarojini Naidu and C. Rajagopalachari also led such marches in other parts of India. Many other actions followed the civil disobedience movement, like people refused to pay taxes. Women and students took out processions. Students left colleges and schools. The Indians resigned from their government jobs. Advocates kept away from law courts. Thousands of people participated in the march. The British arrested all important Congress leaders and the Congress was banned. Several people were killed due to police brutalities. More than 60,000 people were arrested. Second World War and Freedom Movement. The Second World War was started in Europe in 1939. As Britain was a party to the war and India was under the British rule, Britain declared India too a party to the war and posted a large number of Indian soldiers in different war zones. The Congress was opposed to this. It demanded to free India first. On the contrary, the British government chose to suppress the Indian people brutally. As a result, the Congress resigned from the ministries in 1939. The Quit India movement. World War II was the time of suffering for the Indian people. Food was short and the government was brutal. In August 1942, the Congress under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi launched the Quit India movement. Gandhiji gave people the message of do or die. Every man, women and children was associated with the movement. Every place reverberated with the slogans of British Quit India or Angrezo Bharat Chodo. Chirpi says, people boycotted British goods and began to use cloth made of handlooms. The yarn was spun on charkha. Thus, charkha became the symbol of freedom from British rule. The British government arrested Indian leaders including Gandhiji, but the movement spread all over the country and people faced the British repression with a tremendous courage and heroism. Indian National Army. Subhash Chandra Bose was an important Indian leader. He was the president of the Congress in 1938 and 1939. He believed that independence could only be achieved by fighting the British. He was arrested in 1941 but escaped from prison and reached Germany via Afghanistan. Rash Behari Bose and General Mohan Singh had set up the Indian National Army or Azad Hind Fauj in Japan. In 1943, he went to Singapore and recognized the Indian National Army from among the Indian soldiers who had been taken prisoner by Japan to liberate India. He was the commander-in-chief and gave the slogans of Jai Hind and Dilli Chalo. The Azad Hind Fauj fought bravely in northeast India and later at Burma. His slogan, "Give me blood and I will give you freedom," inspired the nation to jump into the freedom movement. India gains freedom. The Second World War ended in 1945. By the time the British had realized that they could no longer continue to rule in India, because the Indians were determined to get freedom. The cabinet mission arrived in India in 1946 and had a meeting with the Indian leaders. As a result of the meeting, an interim government was formed headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. However, the Muslim League refused to take part in it. It instigated a lot of violence and demanded the creation of Pakistan, a separate country for the Muslims. On 15th August 1947, India became a free country. However, India was divided into two countries, India and Pakistan. The joy of independence was greatly hurt by the pain of partition. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister and Dr. Rajendra Prasad became the first President of independent India. The people of India established a democratic government, secular in nature, where people of all religions can live freely and with equality. Quick review. The Rowlatt Act was passed in March 1919 by the Central Legislative Council. The most pathetic incident took place at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar on 13th April 1919. Gandhiji launched the non-cooperation movement in 1920. In 1928, the British government sent the Simon Mission to handle law and other situation in India. Complete independence was demanded from the British in 1930. Gandhiji led the Dandi March to challenge the British tax on salt production. The Congress launched the Quit India movement in 1942. India became independent on 15th August 1947. However, the country was divided into India and Pakistan.